Right, I did Michelangelo and it won the 10 best thing, right? I then went on, heartened by that, and another bit of music from Fantasia, which I've always loved since I was 7, which is the Beethoven's Pastoral. And I've always liked that. And listening to that came the idea of, it sounded like Constable digging, and then it sounded like Turner being dramatic, and then it sounded like Monday being spotty. And so I re-edited the track and put out 4 views of landscape, because I wanted to show how different artists look at the world differently, right? So I did this little film, 4 views of landscape. And I did that for the next year's 10 best. Right? I didn't do it to enter the film, I just wanted to make it. It won, it got screening, and the guy at the films department in the Tate Gallery saw it and liked it at this. It was filmed, it used to be filmed on something called Clapboard that isn't there anymore. And he saw it and he liked it, and he wrote about it in Times Diary. He said there's very few films, like you said, there's very few films on art for young people. And this one, it did not insult its audience, which I like.
Exactly. Or insult the artists, I would imagine.
Yes.
Add to their, you know.
One could think I might. And he wrote to me and said he liked it, and would I like to come down and animate William Blake? You know, well, yeah, okay, in my school holiday. So they were having a William Blake exhibition at the Tate. Would I like to come down? Would I like to bring my gear? Because I talked to him on the phone about how I did it. So I could demonstrate in the sculpture hall how you made an animate film in those days. That's drawing and painting. And people coming through would not only see the film, but see how it was done. And hopefully schools, like you said, schools and could think, oh, yes, we could do this in school and we could learn about it. So that's what I did. So I put my film equipment in the rostrum that wasn't too huge in the back of the car, drove down and set it up in the sculpture gallery.
In the Tate Gallery, in that main hall as you walk in, you're sitting there working. That is just fantastic. How many weeks? How many months?
Couple of weeks. Well, I started work on it before. As soon as he said, I thought, William Blake. I mean, we've heard of William Blake, be up, you know, World in the Green Sand and Tiger. But I mean, Monet and Van Gogh were my sort of thing, you know, not William Blake. So because of him asking, I started to explore. And in those days, you couldn't Google, you know, you had to go to the library and get books.
True, yeah.
And I'm looking and reading and finding, as I traveled, because I was on a job moving backwards and forwards, as I traveled, I read his poetry and all the rest of it. And as you will do on a job, Jean, whatever, you research and you bring in loads of stuff. So I had lots of images, lots of poetry, lots of stuff that he had written. I tried to get stuff from the artist, not what people write about him, but what he said. And I got this whole heap of stuff, but it was just like a heap in my head. And then would you believe I was at a party that Win Footer, of all people, was given one Christmas.
Right.
And I heard a bit of Carmina Burana, which in those days, we're talking 1975, nobody's heard of. And it goes, boom. You know, Carmina Burana, which every X Factor has Carmina Burana now. But in those days, no, William Blake. So I said to Winford, can I borrow the record? Because it was a record. Can I borrow the record? And she said, yeah. So I took it and I recorded it. And I thought, that's William Blake. So again, Jean, the music.
Music, yes.
Brought it all together. And all these facts and figures that I'd gathered made sense because of the music.
So do you have to play the music and time it and then produce a sequence to match that timing?
Yes, to the second.
Right.
To the frame, 25 frames a second. So
explain that a bit more for people who are listening.
I go, hello, right, and I want to animate that. Right, now that took about, what, 1 second. So I would draw, if I wanted to draw it fully, like in Disney, one drawing, I'll do 2 clicks, 2 drawing, 3 drawing, 4 drawing, 5 drawing, 6 drawing, 7 drawing. So that's 12 drawings. So it would be 12 drawings, as you know, because you've done a bit of animation, going from there to there, right? Because that's a second. And then I would play those drawings back and you would get now a drawn arm doing that. So I would time the track, and because I timed the track, I got to know it very well. And because of that, also it helped me bring the drawings to life, because I've got, right down to the 25th of the second.
It's marvelous. And are you going to show this now? Are you going to show William Blake's?
I've got some of the practicalities of that in the show. Perhaps the best description, which would lead me out of Mondrian. When I was down doing William Blake and all that, of course, there's quite a few Mondrians in the Tate Gallery, right? And good old Terry Measham, who was ahead of his time. I mean, he's brilliant. He's not there now. He's somewhere in Australia. I tried to track him down, but I couldn't find him. Because the Tate now, as you know, is somewhere else.
Yeah.
So anyway, they have the Mondrians, and he said you should have a go at him. So I thought, just for fun, I didn't get paid for William Blake, I hasten to say, right? I got the honour of going down there. I didn't get paid. I was still teaching. That was my holiday. So he said you should have a go. So I looked into Mondrian, and of course, what music would you put on Mondrian, Jean?
Well, I saw your film first. Right. You see, I saw your film.
If you saw Mondrian painting.
Well, again, it's impossible once you've seen one of your films to take it away. I'm sorry, you can't pull me on that one. I saw your film first, and that boogie woogie and this little man, and it brought Mondrian alive. I went to see an exhibition of his at the Tate, the whole history of his work, and I must admit I was quite disappointed at how small they were and how chalky and poorly painted some of the surfaces were. But then I did find out that he really did enjoy jazz, and jazz was his thing. And I had this image of him jazzing, dancing around his studio while he's painting a bit. And it all linked in with your film, which had been my first introduction to him. You can't take them away. You can't.
Well, I hadn't realized it's your first introduction, sorry. Because
no,
usual, like seeing Mondrians, like I did, right? And animate, okay, I thought, well, music concrete. Right.
Yes. But yes, you do.
Which of course the Tate have just done when they did them. Anyway, come to that later. So yes, you would do that, boom, boom, and that's what I was thinking. I thought music. So again, I did the research on Mondrian, because everything is beautifully dated, as you know. So everything is dated. Everything's clearly described by him. Again, I didn't read what other people wrote. It was too much rubbish. I was still stuck, and it was Nerys Johnson who was creator at DLI. Did you meet Nerys?
Yes, I did. I think at your exhibition at the DLI. Yes.
He's an incredible one. Yes. I said, Nerys, I've got all this stuff on Mondrian, but I'm stuck. I don't know. I can't do it. And she said, well, why not contact Amsterdam, where he came from, and see if they've got anything. So I did. I contacted whatever it was. She gave me the address, because she was obviously in with museums. And they sent me back this marvelous piece in translation, because obviously it was written in Dutch. And what he said was, in my work, the vertical and horizontal lines are the 8 beats in the bar, and the colour is the tune. And he actually wrote that down.
In my painting, the vertical and horizontal lines correspond to the 8 beats in the bar. Here it goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. See them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the colours are the tune. So that's what I did throughout the movie. Vertical and horizontals move to the 8 beats. Colours and Mondrian move to the tune.
And I found out that he was mad about boogie, and he would have boogie woogie playing, not just Broadway boogie woogie, people know of that, but he was having boogie woogie play all the time in his house, right, in Amersfoort. And on Fridays, and this is the best bit, he went out and boogied himself. Right? Now again, if you look at the Tate, or if you look at the Mondrian, I used to,
in those hallowed white walls, in that sort of mausoleum of an art gallery, and you see them and you think,
oh yeah, it's very learned.
Yeah.
Worthy of a Turner Prize, perhaps. It's almost. Yeah, so that turned out, and that was his words. That's the thing. So then I thought, right, okay, then, if that's what he thought, I'll look back. I just went, because as I've said, I've timed to the second, right? I got a bit of boogie, and I timed the 8 beats, dun, 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 right? So I timed all them, and then I timed the music on the top. So I had like 2 levels. I got where all the beats are, and then where all the music is, and I fitted his pictures, which are all in order, to them, right? And I had him moving, and he always moves like an Egyptian. He always moves horizontal like that. He never to go sideways, right? He's always so he always moves like that because his work is flat. He never goes
Yes.
in or out.
Yeah.
So I try to suit the movement to him and to his thing. And it must have worked because they still use that film in his house in Amersfoort. They wrote to me and said, could they have it? And so they use it now as an introduction to his work. So it can't be bad. The tape didn't, and the recent one, not that I offered it, but the tape seemed to have lost. You see, they had Terry Misham. I was so lucky for a while, right? And he was like switched on to children and learning and art and what art is, rather than making money of it or showing.
Yes, we must bow down and pay homage. Yes. But if I just go back to your previous ones, the 4 views of landscape, you again, it's this, it's your vision. You know, if I'm right, you had Constable planting trees.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Then you had Monet with a wheelbarrow. Mm-hmm. And Van Gogh with a, is it a trombone, clarinet? Yep. Clarinet. Mm-hmm. And Turner's the magician. Mm-hmm. I mean, what a way to remember them. What a way to think of them, you know, spreading things out with the wheelbarrow, or so, you know, the music and there's the swaying and then there's sort of Turner just with his black, you know, you bring them alive. And have you had responses from children about, I mean, my delight when I go to the Tate is if they have a little primary school in there, to listen to the little primary school children's response. They're asked a question and you know what the answer should be, but it's always interesting to hear what they think the answer is. And it brings things alive. I mean, have children responded certainly to the 4 landscapes or to the Mondrian?
Very interesting that you said that, because that's where I'd like it to be used. I've occasionally had remarks on my YouTube channel where it is from teachers all around the world who said they've used it and it's been effective. Well, the only time I ever saw a group of children was when I was in Tunisia. I was doing some workshops there. I was invited to go to a school and I didn't speak Arabic or French in those days. I taught myself French because I never got French. So language wasn't a thing. So luckily I'd taken some of the music-y films. So I showed The Boy and the Cat, which went down very well. And I showed the 4 views of landscape, which, you know, and the best reception I've ever had in the world to that one was in the cinema at Tunisia when it played the 4 views of landscape. And when Monet came out with his wheelbarrow, because that's what he did, he used to put his canvases in a wheelbarrow, take them into the field, and then as the sun came down over the haystacks, he would paint that haystack, and then the sun's there, he'd leave that, he'd paint the next haystack, he'd move on to the next haystack. So he was actually moving with his wheelbarrow for real, and with his canvases, painting the haystacks as the light shone on them. Now, the audience in Tunisia knew that, and they cheered. I've never had that before. About, I don't know, 1,000 people standing up and cheering to Monet and his wheelbarrow because they knew what I was doing.
Yes.
And they thought, yes, we know that, you know. So that was great. I've never had it before since. Most people think, yeah, fine, you know. But yes, because I was trying to show what he did and why he did it in a fun way.
Yes. And how clever to link in the wheelbarrow that he really used. And then, because I just thought that was your, you know, like,
no, he did.
Turner didn't pretend to be a magician, but.
Well, that was his cloak. Yeah, he switched.
Yes.
But again, I gather he was called Over Turner. He was always tripping over things. So yeah, it was, what I tend to do is like you in the history of art, you discover all the facts. And then if you can, usually with music, make them in a fun, acceptable way. But I start with the facts and I stick with the facts and I make them fun, hopefully.
It's this timing and how you manage to have the imagination to fit the picture to the music, and then that very controlled way of getting the timing right. There's a fantastic mixture here of pure imagination, magician, and very good technical know-how, you know, really fantastic. What should we talk about next?